Today I want to talk about what Lao Shu calls motivation boosters. And basically what that means is random things that kind of get you motivated to learn languages. I love learning languages through music and through movies. And here's a Japanese film. This is from the series Rurouni Kenshin. So that's a movie in Japanese that I like to watch a lot. And every time I watch it, I always feel motivated to learn some more Japanese. And here's a movie in Mandarin Chinese, Hero, that I like to watch a lot. It's one of my favorites. I love kung fu films, martial arts films. Those are my favorite. Here is a French-Canadian band that I like a lot, and so that's all in French, and every time I listen to them I always want to look up French words and figure out what they're saying. And I think music's just wonderful for learning languages. Here's a Rammstein CD. Here's another Rammstein CD. There's another Rammstein. Here's one from Inomine. That's one of my favorites. Here's one from Deichkind. Love using music to learn languages. It's definitely amazing. Here's another Rammstein CD. Reise, Reise. Let's see. Here's a DVD of Rammstein. They're one of my favorites. So I got a lot of their junk. Here's a French film, La Femme Nikita, from one of my favorite directors. Let's see if I can pronounce his name right. Luc Besson. A big motivating factor for me is reading. Like, for instance, here's a book on philosophy. I like philosophy, I like reading about it. And it talks about all the various philosophers throughout the world and throughout time. And there is a picture of Voltaire. He's a French philosopher from the Enlightenment period. He is one of my favorites. Love him. I think that's Nietzsche. He's a cool philosopher. I don't really agree with some of his stuff, but respect him nonetheless. Here's my textbook that I kept from my international relations class. I had to keep this book because I thought it was so interesting, learning about all these different countries and how they interact. So that was fun. Here's an old book my grandma gave me on Norwegian. It's like a book for little kids to learn Norwegian. It has all this fancy stuff in it, pictures and whatnot. So yeah, all this stuff really gets me motivated to learn language, and I use that motivation, and I go look up stuff in that language, even if it's not really a language I'm studying at the moment. I'll at least look up some phrases or something. Here's one of my favorite books, Candide from Voltaire. That's a cool book. I highly recommend it. It's a satire. It's funny, and if you know the history, it all makes sense and it's pretty funny. Here's another one of my favorites, Baader Meinhof, The Inside Story of the RAF. And this is about a terrorist group in Germany. So there's a lot of German words in it, and whenever I read it, it motivates me to learn more German. Definitely love this book. Also, too, here is a book on China, ancient China. Gotta love that. And inside it talks about the history of the Chinese language. And it has the oldest Chinese text ever, the oldest one in their book, and it talks about it. And it shows you how the characters have evolved over time and how the words have changed and pronunciation and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. Here is Steve Kaufman's book, and I highly recommend it to anybody who's out there learning language. Oh, it's a very, very, very good book. basically takes all of his videos and smushes them into one book and adds a bunch of even extra, more in-depth stuff. So that's pretty cool. I highly recommend you get that book. Also, too, one of my heroes is Frederick the Great. He was king of Prussia, which was a former German state. So whenever I read this, I get motivated. Him and Voltaire were friends too. Voltaire, the author of Candide and philosopher from the Enlightenment period. They were kind of like friends, and so that's pretty cool. Whenever I read, it kind of gets me motivated. Oh, here's a postcard I got from my family in Germany. Here's a book on Voltaire. Gotta love Voltaire. That always motivates me to learn more French whenever I read about him. Here's a book that my family brought me from Germany. It's actually from an American author, but it was just translated in German. But still, nonetheless, I like reading in German, so that's definitely a motivating factor. Whenever I'm studying a language, I like to buy books about the language, like linguistic kind of styled books that tell you about the history of the language and all that kind of stuff. This one's obviously on Chinese. I really like that, and it really motivates me to learn Chinese. So it's really cool. I mean, it also talks about like the origin of Chinese characters and all that kind of stuff. Here's a book that my grandma gave me. It's Norse Kings. So that always gets me motivated to learn Norwegian when I read this, or learn Swedish. It's pretty cool. Here's a book I found at my library today, and it is Chinese calligraphy. It's the only book they had on related to anything to Chinese. Since I'm studying Chinese, I'm like, oh, I'll have to check that out. And it has so many, each page has a different character, and this is a pretty thick book. And it tells you the history of the character, how it formed and what it is now, and it tells you the stroke order and gives you some, history on the character. And it also gives you other characters that use the character within it, incorporate that character and stuff. So that's a really good book. If you're learning Chinese, this is definitely a book to get. Definitely. Let's see. Here's a book I found at a used bookstore just randomly. I was like, oh, there's a whole book in Chinese. And this motivates me to learn more Chinese so I can read this. Here too is a poster of Bruce Lee. He's always been one of my big motivating factors for, learning Chinese and learning about Chinese culture. I mean, Bruce Lee, definitely, he's one of my heroes. I remember when I was in 6th grade in middle school and I gave a big long speech about his whole entire life. I know more about this guy's life than I probably do my own, because he's just a wonderful guy. Definitely a big motivating factor for me, anyways. Here's a book I got on France, Culture Smart. They're a wonderful series. Definitely recommend these books. They're cool little books. Got one on China. Got one on Germany. Those are wonderful. And I got this book too, China, Its History and Culture. So those are the things really that motivate me. What motivates you guys? You should post a video response of things that help motivate you to learn languages. The biggest things for me are movies, music, and books. Yeah, definitely post video response and show me what interests you, what gets you motivated to learn, languages. I find that with me, I'm already motivated to learn languages, and all this stuff is like, it's like steroids to an athlete. It just gets you more pumped up, and you can use that for your language learning. Please leave a video response and show me what interests you, what gets you motivated to learn languages. That's all for today.